So today we have Lauren Kotkowski. She's the founder and producing artistic director of the San Antonio Broadway Theatre. Her mission is to bring the New York City professional musical theater experience to the San Antonio community. Lauren has traveled the world performing in operas, including Carnegie Hall, and acting in various theaters. She also teaches students ranging from kindergarten to high school. In fact, some of her students have performed on Broadway. And she is also a mama to two kids, Gail and Mila. So welcome, Lauren. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
So, Lauren, we've gotten to know each other a little bit better over the last several months, and I have just been absolutely blown away by your talent and your skill and willingness to bring your experiences here to our lovely city of San Antonio. I want to ask you, and this is something that I think a lot of our listeners would like to know. So you are obviously very talented in the arts, in the fine arts, and it is a passion of yours, no less. And you've now launched a business here in San Antonio, San Antonio Broadway Theatre, and as Sabrina described it. And this is going to be not only a wonderful thing for San Antonio, but it is truly your passion. It's really what you're all about. What I think I would like to know, and I think our listeners would like to know, is you also have two adorable children who are probably everything to you. I'm certain of that. And
Yeah.
so how are you balancing passion over here in what we would call your social sphere, your social life, and then passion, which is technically going to be in your financial sphere because it is work. How are you managing those two amazing passions?
That's a great question. And I think it's a question that a lot of people ask me because I have a almost 2-year-old and an 8-month-old. So they really are babies. I will have to say I have a very good village. And I have my parents here living that come help, watching my baby now when I'm doing this podcast. And I also have daycare that helps and a nanny. Now, I do know that a lot of people don't have the means for that. You know, having kids is quite expensive, and having all of those aspects is expensive when you are a working mom. And I have talked to a lot of people who are also working moms, and they have to do the daycare thing. But I do find that it is possible to do it without all those. Whenever my parents were out of town, you know, I'm just with Mila throughout the day. I'm still able to get everything done. It's just the whoever I'm talking to has to have a little grace with me having a baby on my arm and saying, "Hey, sorry, I have Mila here. You know, she makes a little bit of noise. I'm sorry, but." You know, I still get everything done, but I'm not going to say that it's super easy. You know, it is a challenge every day I have to go through, and I'm learning that work-life balance and how I'm trying to think, okay, you know, my babies are only this little once. So as much as I want to go do this work thing, you know, or work on the computer, my son needs me right now, and this can wait, this can wait. So it's a constant balance of what can wait and what I have to get done at the moment. But usually I'm said, okay, no. My kid comes first, my baby comes first, and then I can tackle that later. You know, no one's dying over here, so I can do it.
Yes.
So that's kind of how I think of things and the balance.
Gotcha.
Lauren, as I was going to say, before we hit record and before Noel joined on today, you and I were talking about how full our plates are, but we wouldn't have it any other way, because if we didn't have full plates, we'd be idle, and that's just not who we are. As a mom myself, I find that when I do have a full plate, like the last few weeks, I've just been going, I tend to take care of myself less. My daughter comes first and then everything else, but I put myself last. How are you managing your mental health, your physical health while you have all this? I mean, you have a new business, you're still teaching students, you have your kids, you're a wife, you have, the list goes on. How are you taking care of your physical health and your mental health right now?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One, I carve out Monday, Wednesday, Friday time to work out.
Okay.
So I know every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 10, I will do some type of a workout. And to be honest, doesn't always go as planned. Today, couldn't do it, right? And I'm not going to beat myself up on that because, life happens. But that really does help me have me time and helps with the mental stuff. Now, I will be honest, I do take an SSRI, like Zoloft, and
Okay.
that seems to help me so much. And so I am very open about this because,
I do too.
yeah,
And I
it
love
helps.
that you're open about it because it helps.
And I tell so many people because it I got on it for a different reason. I got on it because I was going through a very bad breakup and I was just like, just give me anything. I just need help. I'm too depressed. And then finding that I feel so much better when I'm on it versus trying to get off of it. And especially now that I was talking to my doctor about this because I was like, I don't want to be on it anymore. But she's like, your circumstances have changed. You have two babies, you have a new business, you have a lot going on. It could help you manage these things. And that's my biggest manager, I think, out of everything is, I do have my workouts that do help a lot, but I don't think that I'd be able to do it without the help of Zoloft that clears my mind and lets me, okay, this is what I need to do. Because if not, everything would be very overwhelming and I wouldn't be able to mentally put them into different boxes.
Absolutely.
And not everyone needs it. Like my husband is like totally fine. He's like even keel, like handles stress well, like he's fine, and then there's people like me and like some people in my family that just need extra help, and that's what really helps me.
I can,
And also
but
making to-do lists. So
and to do,
that's,
yes.
yeah, to-do
I can
lists.
completely relate. I feel like we manage things very similarly. When I look at, I think it was about a year ago, I felt off in my mental sphere. And, I was talking on yesterday's podcast, I look at my spheres, my physical, my mental, my social, educational, financial. I look at those, maybe once a week, once a month. And my mental sphere was so off. I was feeling really down and I had been taking Zoloft as well. So I went to the doctor and he's like, well, maybe, you've been on this for a while. We need to change things up, let's look at it. So I really commend you about not, there's such a taboo about these medications, but I commend you for taking it, and also about talking that there's nothing wrong with taking it. It's, if we need a little bit of,
No,
that's
no.
okay.
It is. And I think especially in our society today, there where we feel so much pressure to do so many things. We see on social media these moms that are having 5 kids and they have their job and this and that, and you feel the pressure like, well, I need to be doing that. So I think in today's world, we put so much on our plate where back in, I don't even know when, you can just enjoy life and chill, no
Mhm.
stress. We have a lot more going on these days where I think a little something is needed. And like I said, not everyone needs it, but for
Exactly.
people who are on the fence about it, because I refused to go on it for the longest time. I was scared. I was scared of the side effects. I was like, no, 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 I could do this myself. And it wasn't until something happened that I got on it. But if I can tell people, hey, don't be scared of it. Nothing's going to happen to you. The only thing is that you'll get better. And if you don't like it, you don't have to take it, but at least
You
try
know
it.
it. Mhm.
And then if you feel better and more clear, then that's that it's not bad for you.
Lauren, if I may,
Yeah.
first off, I think thank you so much for your honesty and for sharing kind of where you are in that physical sphere and how you're managing that with medication and all that. And you are 100% spot on. It is so appropriate for all of us to always find what is best for us. The beauty that Sabrina and I always talk about with the 5 spheres of fit is that it constantly evolves with you. And I know in the questionnaire that we sent out to you, you talked about, well, I have to be prepared. It's the nature of your work. I have to be prepared to pivot and make changes, and nothing's the same. Every day is different and all of that stuff. And I think it's wonderful that you recognize that that is the situation, but that you're actively and proactively finding ways to fit your needs, whether it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule for working out, whether it's the recognition that, hey, you're not the best at dealing with stress. So let me talk to my physician and perhaps get on a medication to assist me in that. I mean, that's a beautiful thing that you've figured all that out. So Lauren, I have two things that I want to touch on. And because I know that you are younger than I am, I'm always interested in how folks are utilizing social media. You mentioned earlier that as a mom, you've got all these things going on. Sabrina obviously supported that. And then sometimes you see other moms with 5 kids and they do this and they do that. And you sort of feel that societal pressure, maybe, or just general pressure. When you look at social media, as someone who is clearly very successful, whether you know it or not, how are you looking at that social media and how is it impacting? Do you really feel that pressure? Is it really real for you? Do you look at other people in fine arts and kind of see their pathways in their career and think, oh, where am I? Or am I happy with where I'm at? Or, oh, I'm so far from where they've even gone. Like, how does that work for you? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I've gotten a lot better at social media, actually. The only thing, yeah, I do have social media breaks because sometimes I see something that will trigger me. I don't know exactly. Maybe it has to do with, another theater is doing this, or like another theater is doing a show at the same time we're doing a show, and it's gonna take all my actors, and I'm like, oh no, why did you plan at the same time as me? And I see that on social media, or stuff like that will really kind of I guess trigger me to make me stressed. But as far as, seeing other moms and things like that, I feel pretty secure in where I'm at. Like I said, I've gotten better. I think the generation below me, I think, is actually a lot worse with social media. I think, Instagram came when I was in college. Facebook came like mid high school. So I had a good amount of childhood without social media, which I'm very thankful for. So now I use it more as like a marketing tool, and I try to limit myself because I've learned, I'm more concerned of the kids under me, honestly, because they're very, very, very attached to that social media game. So what I would say is take the Instagram breaks as you need.
Yeah.
Like if you need a break, just delete the app, get off of it. And I will tell you, when I do that, I do feel a lot better. And yes, I might miss out on certain accomplishments my friends go through, but it's worth the mental health aspect. So take breaks as you need them, and just know that social media is not everything as it seems.
Right.
You see happy, healthy, and then you find out they're getting a divorce, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, but they were so happy in social media.
Yeah.
So I just look at everything and I'm like, this is fake. This is fake. This is fake. I mean, real life people are not like that, So
Yeah.
just know that social media, I mean, I do it too, on my like close friend story, I put the real deals, but if I post something on my feed, like it's going to be a happy post,
Of course. Picture of us looking the best we look.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're having a great hair day or something like that.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
Lauren, on this social media, because you pointed it out, like, oh, everything is fake, it's fake. I had my first experience about 3 years ago on Instagram. And one of the things that I do is, for about, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 years, I was coaching some athletes from a distance. In fact, they were in India. They were wrestlers with the Indian national team. There were CrossFit athletes who were just kind of getting started. And what I would do is I would share my workout videos with them. So I kind of started down that pathway and was doing, different videos and whatnot. And I remember I put up this post, and it's got to be about 3 years now. And it's me jumping up onto these, they're called bumper plates. They're weight plates that I would use on a barbell, but I stack them up really high. And then I would, try to jump up on them. And one was to show, obviously they're called box jumps, but in this situation, it was what we were looking for was a vertical jump. We wanted to measure vertical jump. And I jumped up onto this thing and was able to do it. And I posted it. And oh my God, there were so many comments like, no, that's not real. And people actually looking at the video and saying like, no, you can see there's like a little hitch there. So he probably like then got up on the box and then started the video again. And how is this possible? I mean, the guy just I mean, he's not like 20, so there's no way that this is humanly possible at his age.
Oh
And I
my God.
thought, man, this is really crazy. Because absolutely not. I mean, at that point, and still today, I don't use filters. I don't use any of that stuff because I just, one, I don't know how to use them. But two, I just thought it was so interesting that it was being called into question.
Did that
But
bother
now
you
I
though?
get it.
Like mentally,
But
did it bother you?
you know what? I think because I'm always so honest in my social media. Everything is the truth. I don't embellish. That I was a little offended, but then I realized the platform that I'm using, it's not about me. It's I'm sharing, but I'm also opening myself up to being judged, and to being treated in a way that I might not have anticipated. And Lauren, to your point, and I love that you have this really healthy relationship with a platform that is going to be critical, obviously, for your business and for you, professional on a personal level, to kind of go where you want to go. So it's so great that you have that really healthy relationship. Staying
But
in the
wait,
socials. Yes, go ahead.
but wait.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a story that brought up a story.
Yeah, please,
So,
please.
so it wasn't me personally. So thankfully, like I don't post enough on Instagram that people will have controversial things to say. However, as a theater company, we have to be careful what we post because we did have a post. People want to tear you down for anything these days.
Of course.
So in the second cast of Annie, we had a little girl, one of my students. She happened to be African American. I was, okay, what do you want to be in the show? What do you want to be in the show? She's like, I don't want to be anything in the show. I just want to be Sandy. I said, okay, are you sure you want to be just Sandy? Yeah, I just want to be Sandy. Okay, so we cast her as Sandy. Now, when the pictures came out, we had someone talk about how, I mean, a long thing about how, we should have given her a better role because she was African American, and that out of all the roles we gave her this and this and this and this whole thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I deal with this? So I had multiple people chime in because we had to respond, right? But I needed different opinions on how to respond appropriately. So we ended up, saying that she chose that role, and we're very aware. I mean, if you look at any of our other casting, I'm Latina. We're very aware of
Yeah, of course.
casting different color in all of our productions. But that's something that we're ultimately going to run into every time we post a cast, and that, we're going to have these controversies come up that, someone's not happy with X, Y, and Z. So as a theater company, I think social media does get in the way of some things can blow
Right.
up. That one, obviously, it's
Right. I
local.
remember that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
remember
you
that.
handled
And
it. Your response
yeah,
was very well delivered.
yep.
We did a lot of different surveying
Yeah.
and a lot of people read it and decided
Yes.
on the best way to come up of that. But that was the first time that someone said something specifically on something that we've done. So
Were you
Interesting.
stressed? Like, did you get stressed when you?
oh yeah, I was, oh my gosh, what is this? What do we do? Like that was the first time that happened. Like, what do we say? What do we do?
You managed
And
that well.
so
At least
I got a
on
lot
the
of
outside,
opinions.
we saw you managing it well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
It's all about, professionalism, professional answer. I've seen theaters get torn down from things like this. So and because they didn't respond to it, I was in a production. Now looking back, I'm like, oh, I see why people were upset. But this was pre-COVID. COVID changed a lot of things for our business and for casting in a good way. But I was in a production of Evita, and the two leads that are supposed to be Latino, Eva Peron is Latin, and then Che is also. They both were not, and this was the first time in a while, that probably history, that a theater got so heavily scrutinized for their casting, and I was in the eye of the storm during that time. And I was like, what's going on? This was, I think, 2017, and I didn't realize at the time what was wrong with the production because I was Latina. I was like, wait, but there's Latin people here. What does it matter? And so we've come a long way, but I've seen it firsthand. Thankfully, that theater's still fine. I mean, whatever, people forgot,
And they do.
but
Yeah.
yeah, they do. They forget, and so that helped me. But I have seen it, so I know how big it can get, And that's something that I want to try to avoid at all costs, you know?
Right.
Well, I remember that time, Lauren, when we were learning more about San Antonio Broadway Theatre, and I remember reading that. And I don't know if you will recall our discussion, Sabrina, but for those of you who don't know, I've obviously, or not obviously, but I became a board member with San Antonio Broadway Theatre, and I'm very proud of that. And I will say this moving forward, Lauren, while I think you handled that wonderfully, in the future, I will be there to absorb that stress for those types of things. And I think it's a natural thing for me to obviously deal with, as an attorney and as someone who is very well versed in all of those considerations. But you did a wonderful job, and I think that says a lot about how much care and passion you have for that. I want to stay in the social sphere, and I know, Sabrina, you wanted to put some points in, but I want to stay in the social sphere, and I want to ask this one question as the male. You are married. You have two amazing children. You have a beautiful business that you're incredibly passionate about. How do you find the time for your husband? How do you make time for him so that you guys have that great relationship and supportive and all that? Go ahead.
So I think we're both very aware of our relationship and nurturing our relationship from, past relationships as well. Yeah, it gets crazy around here, where it's just like, are we, we're partners, and I feel the most secure that I've ever felt in a relationship because I know, he's not going to leave me. He's here as my partner, and he helps a lot with the business, so he understands. But we do try to make it a point once a week, we try to have date night. And that means like going out, dressing up, and doing something, whether that's getting a drink, going to get dinner. We need that time away from the kids for our personal selves.
Yes.
And then just to feel young again. And because once you have kids, you just feel like, oh my gosh, to feel young again. And, one time we went out to a bar and we drank, and it was so fun because I haven't felt that like young excite in a while, because being married, you get used to it. And so it was so fun. And I felt like we were like dating again. And so we try once a week. Sometimes it's every other, but at least once a month, twice a month, actually, we really make it a point. And I think that is something that I've heard, try to make time once a week for yourselves, because it is very much like he gets home, it's bath time, it's bedtime, we're tired, it's just, we don't have that nightly, it's not a date night at home. I mean, we're both like, let's just watch an episode and, talk about it.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
And then it becomes routine. So I'll be very honest with you. I mean, Noel and I have been married 21 years, and for 11 years, it was Noel and myself. We didn't have Naima yet. And so, we had a lot of quality time together, and then Naima comes, and then we don't want to leave her. So for the last 10 years, we forgot about date night. I mean, we've done it once in a while, and then we've realized recently how it's affected us. Like, we haven't been prioritizing each other. And so that's where we are right now. We're like, you know what, my social sphere, my marriage, like I'm not connecting with my husband and vice versa. And so that's where we are. We're focusing on that now. And we're planning date nights again, and we're having a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think, I always tell them like, well, we're still very young in our relationship. We've only been together almost 4 years. So I'm like, all right, we're like waiting for that 7-year itch to come. We're like, okay, we're prepared. We're prepared for that 7-year itch. We're going to go travel the world together. It's like, I don't want to ever stop feeling this way. So we try to, prioritize, our relationship.
Don't tell her about our 7-year itch.
Oh gosh. Okay. Is there really a 7-year itch?
We went through it.
Oh no. Okay, we're traveling.
But you know what? What's good is like you're already planning to like get ahead of it, We
are. We're scared. We're like, it's coming. We gotta be ready for this.
It's weird because there is a psychology to it. And so before that itch affects your mental sphere, your social sphere, your finance, everything, just get ahead of it like you are.
We're trying.
That's a great point, Sabrina, because organization, honestly, I'm not going to go into any grave detail here, but when Sabrina and I were going through that, we were also like for in our business career, we were like we were in a pinnacle, like we were ascending so fast. And I think so much was changing for us, Lauren, that we were not prepared organizationally to take it all in, to all these influences from the outside, and then just the way our feelings were on the inside. And I think Sabrina and I both have this honesty where we recognize, like, yeah, we just kind of screwed up. Like we didn't have that process in place. And this again takes me back to why we're here, the 5 spheres of fit. As Sabrina mentioned, we look at life in 5 spheres. We have the physical, the mental, the financial, the social, and the educational. And our ability to see all of the impacts in those areas, so that when we make decisions in maybe just the one sphere, we're cognizant of how it might affect the others. So it allows us to make better decisions. Yeah. So we are constantly evolving as people, as you have talked about in your day-to-day and in life. And so as we moved away from that period and it became 10 years and then 15 and then 20, what we realized was, man, we really have this down to, I wouldn't say a science just yet, but we do have the foundation and a platform of which to operate from. And that's the 5 spheres. For me, it started about 12 years ago now. And Sabrina more recently has sort of adopted that approach. And I think she'll tell you, and I'll let her, that it's meant the world to her, because she's now able to prioritize the things that need to be prioritized, and also address other matters as well, and be successful.
You know what? No, before we run out of time, I did want to talk to Lauren about growth mindset. And yes, you know, we sent you a questionnaire before, and you say growth mindset to you is always having the willingness to learn something new every day. Don't assume you know it all. So you went to the Boston Conservatory for undergrad, received your bachelor's of music and vocal performance with a specialization in opera. And then you went to NYU, where you graduated with a Master of Music in Musical Theater. When we first met, you mentioned, you know, it was challenging because there's so much pressure at both schools. You know, you're amongst the best of the best in the country. So how has your growth mindset changed from then to now?
Yeah, so it's when I was going through, of course, you know, you're in that youngest part of your life, you know, like the transition from 18, 19, 20, 21, you know, that's a huge transition you're going through. It was hard, competitive, and I didn't appreciate it as much. Now, of course, everyone's going to say this as they look back, right? But looking back, I'm like, actually, like in my earlier days, like middle school, high school, I'm like, I wish I took time to learn about history, about this, about that, because now I'm learning about it as an adult and I enjoy it. But I always tell my students, like, enjoy the time now, because you're never going to get that time again, and you're never going to learn these things. Now is a time to have fun and learn. And I learn, honestly, I learn something new every day from someone, and I love to keep that mindset, because if you get into the mindset where, oh yeah, I know how to do this, I know it all, then you kind of get trapped, and it's harder to work with people. And if you're not honest about, like, hey, I'm learning, I just want to learn this, you know, it can get sticky situations. So I've learned working with a various amount of people, you know, working in the theater, it's all about teamwork and working with different mindsets. And I've had every show, we've had one person that I'm like, oh, they were really hard to work with. And it comes down to the mentality of they just don't want to be a team player and learn from everyone. They just think that they know it all. And so that's kind of where my answer is coming from, that I'm seeing it unfold behind my eyes, that, you know, there are a lot of people like that, and it works a lot better when you're willing to learn from other people and just go with the flow. A teamwork works a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. It
Wonderful.
does. And what to me, how it relates to the 5 spheres is, you know, Noel and I tell people we are not the expert in the 5 spheres, but what we could do is bring a platform and then bring experts onto this podcast to talk about, you know, specializations, or where people can learn, or, you know, real life people going through real life things like yourself, and they can learn from each other. So yeah, thank you for sharing. That's exactly what I was asking.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Noel, any other questions you have today?
I think you covered it all. I was just so happy and very proud that you agreed to be on here, because I think a lot of our listeners can gain a lot through your experiences. I've said it multiple times here today. You're an incredibly talented young woman, and I think your ability to balance these really big things in life, two children, and your passion, your personal passion, it says a lot about you that you've been able to keep the top on and not
Right.
fall to pieces. So kudos to you for that, and I'm certainly proud to know you and to see you kind of grow. And you really are living the five spheres, because you're placing importance and value into each one of those spheres, and it's showing. And it doesn't mean, and I tell people this all the time, there's not a checkbox. It's not like, oh, I'm in good shape, check, I'm done. No, it evolves with you, because as we age, as we move through life and progress with growth mindset and whatnot, we're learning new things. And so new challenges come our way. And that's a good thing. Challenges get us off of our guideposts. They help us become the best version of ourselves. And I think that's exactly what you're doing, Lauren. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. I think this what you've created is amazing, brilliant, and it's kind of the mindset I have, like you said, without specifically thinking in those five spheres. I think I just generally think of that like, oh, this part of my life is feeling, a little low. I need help here, or this part of my life. So I definitely think the same that you guys think with your business. So I think it was a good fit for me, because I definitely love what you guys are doing.
Thank you. It's so great having you on here. And I know when I first met you, I thought, gosh, she's done so much already in her young life. And I know she's going to do so much more, and she's managing it all somehow. So I feel like we need to share her story.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for being here with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Okay.
And I hope everyone listening enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to having you on the next one. Thank you.